Hey, with your evening story channel, I post new interesting stories every day. Subscribe and click the bell to not miss it.
In her incomplete 45 years, Vanessa has managed to know life from almost all sides. The happy childhood of the 80s, filled with the laughter of friends, warmth, parental care. A gloomy September day was shattered by the squeal of brakes. Mom's scream and Dad's desperate rush under the wheels of a truck, whose drunk driver jumped to the curb and demolished the stop, with people waiting for the trolley bus. Dad was able to wrestle Vanessa out of the multi-volume vehicle at the last moment and toss her aside at the cost of his life. Her mother suffered multiple injuries, was treated for a long time, and eventually died too, leaving 14-year-old Vanessa alone with the cruel world from which her parents had rewarded her with such persistence. Her father, a nomenclature worker, and her mother, a university lecturer, tried to instill in their daughter the best of everything, as they themselves had achieved a lot in a difficult life. An excellent school, a prestigious music teacher, good prospects. All this overnight was and destroyed by a bull's eyes clogged cheap vodka and a face skewed in horror behind the windshield. At 15 incomplete years old, Sasha was left all alone to her grandparents. Having survived the war, an aunt in a provincial town left early. Father's cousin. All her life she envied them and practically did not communicate anything, having achieved nothing in her own life. She blamed others for everything, but not herself. And on the background of personal problems and troubles, the success of Vanessa's family caused her a fierce hatred, barely covered by a false smile in those moments when they occasionally met. And Elena Sergeevna supposedly reluctantly took gifts from her cousin. Then there was a boarding school, orphanage, in fact, played blanket from the kitchen throughout the premises of the constant smell of pro-Gorolov oil and cruelty of peers, who in no way wanted to accept in the team a figure from the major from the family. But the chick had turned out to have a temper. Unexpectedly, even for herself, Vanessa realized that she could not afford to be a nobody. Of the shards of the old happy life was born a new Vanessa, smart, calculating, tough, sometimes even cruel. The girl with an English pilot quickly subdued to herself the internet kids and took the top of the food pyramid of the children's special institution. Vanessa quickly realized that in the world, every man for himself, no family, no special attachments, only business. The horrors of poverty were forever remembered by the girl, and the repetition of the shameful bed from the barracks, a blanket and empty liquid porridge. She could not afford it. The first more or less real money attracted the local racketeering, for the hit and run of which Vanessa, though, was inwardly prepared. But the very form of that hit and run and the demands had dumbfounded the snot out of the easy gangster life. So stunned the novice businesswoman that, in response to the demand to turn to the wall and bent her hand, involuntarily fumbled for a knife. Boarding school had taught her to fight back against any enemy, and where the logic of conviction or counterattack failed, any means were used. One of such extreme measures was a knife, given by one of the guys who liked the stroppy girl from the very beginning. It hit exactly in the liver, not before the rapist. Racketeers were afraid of the consequences and abandoned their accomplice and evaporated before the arrival of the police. Interrogation. Camera. Trial. Excess self-defense and time. Thank goodness the young bull survived and Vanessa got the minimum. Prison only toughened the girl up. 5 years later, under amnesty, she went out of the gates of the camp with a certain reputation among the Frappa. Her blood relatives were killed by a bullet at a gunfight, and the girl could not fear revenge. The only thing that hindered the start of a new life was the lack of money. But this could not be a problem for a woman who already at such a young age has learned life in its various manifestations. Enterprising people from the mid-90s made money on it, everything. In time, they considered the real prospects of future wealth and privatization. Vanessa, quickly managed to regain everything lost and become recognizable in business circles. Vanessa did not like invitations to loud parties of the nouveau riche, but sometimes had to go out. Her position obliged her. It was good that besides crimson jackets and Cartier chains, there were some really interesting and intelligent people at such parties. With some of these businessmen with brains, at the next necessary party Vanessa met quite by accident, feeling that the young guy sitting across from her was interested in her. And it was not only about business. James unexpectedly turned out to be a very grateful interlocutor, and Vanessa was happy to tell him about her adventures, without touching on the dark and bitter topics of her past life. The legacy of the past let go a little in time. The longing for her parents was replaced by gratitude and light sadness. Boarding school was remembered as a harsh but colorful adventure. Even the years of imprisonment no longer pressed their weight, gave way to the joys of a new life, and only one terrible memory kept her awake at night. Her son, the tiny lump of unexpected happiness that had so soon disappeared from her life. The Woodlands Reform Camp was almost 100% female. Naturally, the contingent, the guards of the service administration, but there were some rare exceptions among the sons of kerchiefs, kos, and rare exceptions. With one such exception, Vanessa had a quickie. Eternal consensual affair physiology was taking its toll. And Vanessa didn't even notice how pregnant she became. The inmate had a baby boy. The accident in the zone was hushed up, and Vanessa was getting ready to leave early from prison, as the whole wing, in which was Vanessa with a baby, mowed down sickness. Several inmates and even one guard died of an unexplained poisoning. Vanessa and her baby were not spared. Vanessa spent 2 days in the infirmary without memory, and when she woke up, she was told that her little red-haired wonder had died of the disease. Several years had passed since then. At night, Vanessa no longer jumped up screaming, but the birthmark a little below her elbow and on her little son's right arm stood before the eyes of a mother so terrified of losing a child passed to the past. A year later, Vanessa and James decided to join not only their businesses, but also their destinies of opulent status, a wedding, and a new home. An entire estate in a prestigious area of the suburbs became a prelude to real happiness. A baby girl was born to the young. Life had reached its happy peak, which Vanessa had worked so long and hard to reach. It seemed that it would be like this forever, but fate is merciless, and she does not care who is in front of her. Favor is replaced by losses, and Isabella's stripe most often comes dark black. During a business trip to Austria, the helicopter of the famous businessman James crashed. There were no survivors, not even in time to mourn her husband. Vanessa began to notice that her little girl Maria became less active, almost stopped laughing, and at night often wakes up screaming. The verdict of the doctors almost broke Vanessa. The girl is seriously ill. Treatment will prolong life, but only a miracle can save the child. The best doctors, expensive clinics abroad. The operation, even if successful, only delayed. In the end, the girl faded away. Vanessa left the business and was near her daughter all the time. Attempts to find a good caregiver did not lead to anything. Vanessa's intuition was never wrong, and a really good, decent person never responded to her search. And she wouldn't even let strangers get their hands on her, screaming goodbye to her mom. One day during a walk in the park, Vanessa suddenly realized that she had left her purse in a children's store, where she and her daughter went for another doll. Maria had been unable to play with her peers lately, and dolls had completely replaced her little friends. Running across a busy road with a baby stroller Vanessa could not afford, she remembered the face of the drunk driver for the rest of her life, and even the thought of the possible death of a loved one under the wheels was a horror for her. Looking around, she saw a neatly dressed young man on the bench opposite, not causing any concern. Strange. Previously, the possibility of leaving her daughter for a stranger on the street, even if only for a couple minutes, had been unacceptable to her. But this time, Vanessa realized that the guy inexplicably inspires complete trust. "Young man, yes you are. You can watch my baby for a couple minutes." I very quickly turned to the guy in the hope that he would agree to help. "Why not? I'll be right there," the guy said. "I forgot my purse at the store across the street, and I don't want to disturb my daughter. Please stay with her for a couple minutes without delay, and be careful," said the guy, and then smiled and added, "Hurry up, please, and I'm a little afraid of children." Walking out of the store with the lost purse in her hands, Vanessa stopped in amazement. She couldn't believe her eyes. Her Maria was sitting in the guy's arms, hugging him tightly by the neck and whispering something in his ear, smiling. At that, Vanessa immediately realized that this was a chance. This was exactly the kind of person the Mariinsky needed, and she would do anything to have the young man by her side. Vanessa approached the bench and asked Marisha, "How were you? Wasn't it scary?" "I'm not a mom myself. I'm with my uncle. He is good." His name is like Dad James, replied the girl, even tighter, putting her arms around the boy's neck. I see you've even gotten to know each other already. Good for you. My name is Vanessa. I'm this one's mom, Vanessa said with a smile. James, thank you so much, and nice to meet you. You're welcome. It wasn't even scary at all. Your daughter is a miracle and not like the others, James replied. And Maria gave him an unexpected peck on the cheek. Let's play again, asked the girl. I'm not leaving yet, said James. I'm free until Christmas. Hooray, Maria shouted. And Christmas is coming up in 3 months. Vanessa replied absently, and then James added, would you listen to me, please? Strange as it may seem, I have a very unexpected proposition for you. All the time Vanessa was talking to James, Maria did not get off his hands. The woman was even a little taken aback by such a sudden affection. But it only strengthened her confidence in the rightness of her choice. James had always been quick to make decisions. Life had taught him to assess the situation instantly. Besides, he was really free until Christmas. Morning meeting with another employer ended again. Nothing. A year and a half on the juvenile badly damaged his resume and quickly dispelled his dreams of getting a job after leaving the zone. A banal fight for the honor of a girl led to dire consequences. James did not feel sorry for himself. Not used to, completely not knowing his parents and not having received from them an admonition for life. The orphanage worker persistently climbed up and was not going to stop or hang his head. Yes, his life has not yet developed properly, but everything is still ahead of him. Everything will still be. He just had to keep striving. After Christmas, he'd been promised a job at a computer repair shop. James loved computers and knew a lot about them. It was just a matter of waiting. There would be an interesting job, then college, new opportunities. Vanessa's offer was, as they call it, a good fit. Surprisingly, but for 5 minutes of communication with little Maria, James became very attached to her. It was something that he lacked all the time, the feeling of his own importance for another person, albeit small, but strangely coming here to James' liking, I agree. After listening to Vanessa, said James, only I must warn you that it is a bit out of line with your desires. I stat. It was simply impossible to do otherwise. If that doesn't scare you, then I really do agree to help you. Unless, of course, you don't mind Maria. Maria, do you want James to come with us and live in our house? Vanessa asked her daughter. Yes, the girl exclaimed happily. I knew we would be friends for a long time. 3 months flew by. During this time, Vanessa never doubted the rightness of her choice. James was very polite and kind to Maria. Her daughter could spend hours listening to his stories or making jewelry or toys with him. She began to smile often again, and positive emotions had a magical effect on the girl's illness. Vanessa was not in a hurry to believe in a miracle, but the doctors confirmed her feeling. My daughter was making a steady recovery. It's a miracle. Anything could happen. And that miracle was taking place before the eyes of an astonished Vanessa. It was thanks to the unexpected arrival of James in their home. Vanessa was at ease with the young man. When James learned about her difficult fate, Vanessa became an icon for him. Having gone through all the complexities of troubles and tragedies of her difficult fate, the woman achieved everything herself, did not break, but only became stronger. That's what James wanted to be. This is the kind of mother he imagined at night in the orphanage, strong, brave, and kind. One Christmas Eve, Vanessa woke up to a child's gamma coming from the kitchen. And lately, Maria has grown fond of cooking simple meals under James's guidance. I'm a girl and I want to learn to cook, she kept repeating. Vanessa didn't mind, especially since James himself was able to surprise her by helping her in the kitchen with unexpected talents. There was a lot of free time to read culinary literature. There was no other in prison. He joked back when asked about Vanessa. Leaving her bedroom, Vanessa went to the kitchen door and quietly opened it. A complete mess reigned there. A cloud of flour and disappeared in the sunlight falling through her tightly closed curtains. Maria was sitting at the table and was very enthusiastically going through the washed cherries, arranging them in separate piles on the table. James, you were mixing the dough in a large saucepan, saying pies for Christmas and the rest for compote. Seeing her mother in the doorway, Maria laughed enviously. We'll have pies. I washed the cherries myself. And also compote. The girl said excitedly, Good morning, Vanessa. We woke you up. I'm sorry, we won't do it again, James said. Vanessa said nothing. She froze in mute amazement. A ray of sunlight from the window fell on the boy's muscular arms, and Vanessa saw a distinct birthmark, the one just below the elbow on his right arm. But how? Vanessa whispered, and she sank to the kitchen floor without strength. The administration of the camp where Vanessa was serving her sentence, in order to hide the consequences of a high-profile emergency, deceived her. The boy did not die of illness. He was placed in an orphanage. A new name, new metrics, a cruel new life without a mother and without any kinship. Then a colony orphanage, and a strange and wonderful encounter in Auden Park that completely changed lives. And James and Vanessa and Mom. The sudden feeling of kinship that first meeting that fall morning made sense. The unexpected, spontaneous proposal made on a whim, a quick response almost without thought. Even the recovery of the Mariinsky was the result of a miraculous family reunion. What did you expect? Family love and warmth really do work wonders.